Today we're going to continue exploring writing equations given different kinds of data of a function. So if we look at going right into our practice, let's look at number 1. So they've given us a slope of -3 and a y-intercept of 1/2. So all that really is our slope is our m, and our y-intercept is our b. And we're going to write it in the y equals mx plus b format. So to answer number 1, we have y equals, our m is -3, so -3x plus 1/2. And that's our equation. Okay, for number 2, we have a rate. So some of this is just vocabulary. Rate is the same as slope. So we have an m of -2, that's our slope, and a b of 0. So to write this equation, we're going to say y equals -2x plus 0. That's a 0. Okay, for our third one, we've got a slope, an m of 4, and then we've been given a point. But the cool thing about the point that we've been given, it's got a 0 in it. That makes this an intercept, and it's our y-intercept. So anytime you see a point with a 0 in it, you know it's an intercept of some kind. It's either an x or a y-intercept. And since my value is in the y, I know it's my y-intercept. So this is really my b. So I'm going to write my equation. Y equals 4x plus 5. All right, so we keep moving on down on our practice, and we've got a table. So I'm going to use my stat edit key on my calculator. So stat edit. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of these tables. I'm going to put it in stat edit, and then I'm going to do stat and calculate once I've put in my table. I'm going to do stat calculate, and remember we're always going down to option number 5, quadratic regression, unless there's only 2 pieces of data. So in all 3 of these tables I have at least 3 pieces of data, so I'm going to use my stat edit and then stat calculate 5 to come up with the equations for these 3. So go ahead and pause your video, get the answers to all 3 of these equations, and come back and check it. Okay, look and make sure that you got these 3 answers. Now we're going to turn the page. So again, we've been given 3 graphs. Some of you guys are pretty good at counting, rise over run. I recommend for all 3 of these, or at least 2 of the 3 of them, to find the points on the calculator and use stat edit. Okay, so let's look at this first one. The first one, they've already given us 2 points. So number 7, I'm just going to put into my stat edit, and I'm going to come up with my slope, my intercept, and my equation. So pause your video and do that. Okay, on number 7, because we're working with a graph, we only have 2 points given to us. We won't be able to do stat calculate 5 because 5 quadratic regression requires 3 pieces of data. So since I only have 2 pieces of data, I'm going to do stat calculate number 4, which is linear regression or a line. Okay, let's move on to number 8. On number 8, they didn't give you points. They've just given you a line. So you're actually going to have to find your own points to use on this. The only rule is they have to be points we can exactly come up with what the ordered pair is. So if I look at this, I can definitely find 5, -3. I can also find -2, and 4. Now, I can see that pretty much up 1 over 1, every single dot is a good place that you could use. You could pick any two pieces of data that you want. You could pick the two intercepts. I just picked these two random dots. I'm going to put it into my calculator, stat edit, stat calculate 4, and I'm going to come up with my answer. Pause it and get the answer also. Okay, double check, make sure you got the same answer. I can double check my answer by saying, I know my slope has to be negative because my line is negative. I can check and see that my slope is going down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. And I can also verify that my y-intercept is at a +2, and my equation has it as +2. So I can double check and make sure I've written everything down correctly. Okay, number 9. Number 9 looks like a special kind of line because it's going straight up and down. So think about Slope Dude. Is he having zero fun because he's having to push? Or is he falling off the mountain and he's undefined? Well, if I look at this, my skier is falling off the mountain. So my answer to this one is undefined. Undefined is actually what my slope is. My b is also undefined, but I do have an equation for this. And my equation, I'm going to have to put it up here since I wrote in the equation spot, my equation is an x equals instead of a y equals. So I have to look at this and see, what does x equal? Well, when I start at 0, I go -1, -2, -3, -4. So my x value is -4. So my equation for this thing is x equals -4. Okay, let's look at the next group. Okay, on number 10, we've been given 2 points. I'm going to use stat edit. Pause your video, get your equation, and come back and check. Okay, on number 11, they've just written how they've given us the data in a little bit different manner. So let's look at how they've written the data, because if you can actually interpret what they're saying, then you've got just 2 points. It's very simple to do. So let's start with, we always know that this f of x is really representing a y. So we've got y equals 4. When our f of x, what did they tell us that our x value is? They've told us our x equals 2. So that's 1 point, 2, 4. And then they've given me another point that says my y equals 1. So y equals 1 when my x, f of x, equals 8. So those are my 2 points. So again, I'm going to do stat calculate, stat edit, stat calculate 4, and come up with my equation. Okay, double check, make sure you got the same answer, and let's look at number 12. Number 12, they've given us our y-intercept. So first thing they've given me is my b. So my b equals -2. And then the other information they've given me is they've said that I'm going to have the same slope as this line right here. The thing is, that line is not in slope-intercept form. So the first thing I'm going to have to do before I can actually write my equation is I'm going to have to solve this equation, get it into slope-intercept form so I can find out what slope I'm supposed to be using. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. I've got x minus 2y equals 6. So I'm going to draw my line down the middle to define my space and distribute and combine to start the race. I have nothing to distribute and combine. So I'm going to circle what I'm solving for and move left if there's need. Well, it's already on the left. It's the only one, so there's no need. I'm going to start my smiley face, but since it's negative, I'm going to take heed. I'm going to check all my negatives at the end. So now I'm going to go ahead and just cover up the 2y that I circled, because that's got to stay here. So when I cover this up, what I'm solving for, the 2y is being covered up, I need to move the other item. So I need to move the x. So I'm going to say minus x on both sides. X is not a like term to 6, so I'm going to put it over to the side. So I've got negative 2y equals 6 minus x. So I've done the move, move, move. Now I'm going to divide, divide, divide. So I've got y equals negative 3 divided by, or negative 3, and then I've got negative x over negative 2. It's not much of a negative. Let's try that again. Negative x over negative 2 becomes a positive. And that's really 1/2 x. Okay, so I'm going to use, I've been told that it has the same slope. So I'm going to use this positive 1/2 as my m. So now I'm going to just rewrite my new equation using this information. So y equals 1/2 x, and then I'm going to use right up here the b that they gave me, so 1/2 x minus 2. And that's my answer.